You don't want to miss this episode. We've got Caleb Bowers of Bowers Construction. Blueprints for Success, the Bowers way to building a business and homes that last. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Control and Compound. I am Darren Mitchell, and I am so excited about this. This is the second part of our entrepreneurial spotlight. We had David Fraser on from Bunky Life for the first episode. If you haven't seen that one, please check it out. So, Christina Wyatt, welcome, Christina. You excited about this?
Hey, Darren, I'm super excited about this entrepreneurial spotlight. I think it's great for business owners to share stories. I'm just excited to get it out there. But before we jump in, I am going to remind everybody, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please make sure you like, subscribe, and leave that 5-star review for us. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you always know when new content is coming out. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Control and Compound on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay, so we've got Caleb Bowers in the studio today. He's president of Bowers Construction, one of Atlantic Canada's most respected home builders. Caleb and his wife, Suzanne, have built a brand rooted in craftsmanship, trust, and authentic East Coast business with homes that stand out for their design, detail, and heart. So today we're going to talk about really what it takes to build a business, how to build a brand, and we're going to talk about legacy in an industry where typically shortcuts are the answer. Caleb's going to talk about how quality still wins in the long term. So without further ado, Caleb Bowers, welcome to the show.
Hey, Caleb.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming.
So I absolutely love, as a fellow entrepreneur, I absolutely love your origin story. Mm-hmm. So how did it come about, Bowers Construction? What led to you starting this business?
Yeah, out of university, I took business at St. Mary's. My family, the Havel brothers, were in the development game, I guess. They owned mini home parks around, mostly Halifax, but in Nova Scotia as well. So I grew up in kind of an entrepreneurial family, not at immediate length. Like my grandfather was probably the less entrepreneurial of the brothers, but he was, somehow got roped into the family business as well. I think he was more on the sales side. So we grew up, uncles of mine in real estate. My great uncle Stan was probably the most successful of them. He developed Stanley Park up in Cowie Hill, off Dumbrack there. So yeah, we just, growing up, there was something, encouraging and exciting about the idea of being an entrepreneur, mostly the development side. My family wasn't immediately involved in it. So I guess seeing, people having wealth from an arm's length was something that motivated my siblings and I, that when we were later in life, we wanted a piece of that too, I guess. But yeah, I would be lying if I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I still feel like I'm not really grown up. When you do your intro and, it feels weird to be even interviewed about something, I still feel like I'm learning a lot every day. I still feel very childlike, as a business owner and as a father and husband, like, I'm just trying to figure it out. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome sometimes, I think. But so yeah, I always did kind of just enough to get by. School was always something that came pretty naturally to me. I was more interested in partying growing up than academics or sports or any of that stuff. So somehow I stumbled into St. Mary's. My first few years at St. Mary's, I was doing really well in school. And then, as I started to socialize more, you can kind of watch my A+ turn into A's and then B's. And then I luckily got through the program, but I don't think I was, knocking it out of the park by the end of my 5-year loop that I did. So yeah, I came out with a business degree. I had a cousin, actually married to my cousin, Graham Schlender, who owned a company, Highgate Homes, is still, a prominent custom home builder in Halifax. He was partnered with his father-in-law, Graham Higgs, who's a mentor and, close friend of mine. Him and I just traveled to South Africa together back in March. So, somebody who's very important in my life. And yeah, they brought me in kind of as a grunt, treated me very well. But, when I started, I was vacuuming floors, screwing down floors, really anything Graham needed for as a laborer. I quickly, I guess, looked more to the management side of things. I picked it up quick. I'll say to this day, like, building homes is not rocket science. So yeah, within, I don't know, I think I probably worked there 4 or 5 years. I was kind of a project manager / general manager of Highgate Homes. I always laugh at myself, kind of the interactions I would have with Graham. Like, I need more money. I know everything. And I was such a child in so many ways back then. And so I kind of laugh, now that I'm on the other side of those conversations and some of my employees want more money. And I was only making $30,000 at the time. So I think I was probably owed a little bit more, but they treated me really well. In the middle of that, my cousin James, who's Graham's brother-in-law, who's also one of my partners to this day, he was getting into his first home. They all had these nice homes. I was renting an apartment from my friend on Rutledge and had this little single bedroom apartment. I had no money, making, a modest salary at the time, but that was kind of, really what opened my eyes, saying like, these guys have a great life. I want this life. And what that looked like to me at the time was having a nice home. And, they all had families. They had kids, like some had older kids. James was just starting his family at this time. But that's kind of when like I got out of the party. I shouldn't say I got out of the party phase, but I started looking more professionally of like, okay, where do I want to be in life? You hear the expression, you are who you hang around. And that was the time in my life. Like I just had really good influences around me, guys that were, they weren't in trouble. They were showing signs of success. They cared about me. They mentored me. They gave me all the time I needed as far as, Caleb has a problem. I was never just a guy to them. I was family. So I would attribute a lot of, whatever success I have to those building blocks that happened with working with Graham and Graham at Highgate Homes. Fortunately, I came from a family where my grandparents could help me kind of get a start. So my grandparents were kind enough to loan me $150,000. That would have been probably my mid-20s, and that's when I built my first house. So, and really when I don't even know if I was necessarily a project manager by that point. I was definitely helping Graham build homes. But when you build your own home, that's when you really learn, because you care more. You learn, what's it like to be on the client side? What's it like to be on the business owner side? What's it like to be a landlord of sorts? So I would say that was a huge growth period for me. I was still partying a lot and stuff, which is definitely a part of my story. We don't need to get too much into my testimony on that side of things. But as I kind of cleaned my ways, success has been, more prominent, I guess, in my life. And so anyway, flash forward a few years, I sold that house. I built a second house. I kind of downsized was the idea. Cool story. That $500,000 house I just saw was sold for $1.1 million or something. So that's what things have appreciated in Bedford West in the last probably 8 years. But anyway, built my next house. Had a couple of buddies living with me, still buddies to this day. And yeah, so my wife, who this is kind of intro Suzanne. So this would have been 2014. So I just started Bowers Construction. Back up a bit. Highgate Homes was slow, and basically they pulled me into the boardroom and said, like, tears in their eyes, Caleb, we got to lay you off. I think I was kind of a big boy about it. I was like, I get it, guys, and no hard feelings. And I was always a very confident person. I think that served me well in business, where I'm quick to make decisions. I'm very sure of myself. It's also got me in trouble, but in this regard, I was like, okay, I'm starting my own company. So the old running joke is that, like, I got these business cards right away, and construction was spelt wrong on these business cards. So Bowers Construction, no S. And that's kind of the running joke in the family. But this is when like HGTV was kind of becoming a thing, and like Flip That House. And so I just thought we were going to like turn around. I was on my second house now. I still had probably, a little bit of money, maybe $50,000 laying around. So I wasn't like, okay, I have no salary coming in. Like, what am I going to do? So I was very fortunate in that sense, where when I got laid off, I could have waited 6 months probably before I needed to make any income. So I bought this super fancy Ford F-150, a truck I had no business buying at the time. I did my custom homes by Bowers Construction on the side. And me and my buddy CJ, who was kind of working under me at Highgate, start driving around like we're going to start flipping homes. Wasn't long before we kind of had a reality check. Like, we have no finances. There's going to be no business for CJ in this company. So I basically said to CJ at some point, I said, CJ, why don't you go back and work for Graham? Like, I don't really have anything for you. And CJ's still a close friend of mine to this day. So, all these people have been involved since early days. But I would say the biggest of any of kind of the catalyst to where I am today would be when I met my wife. And I'll have a hard time not getting emotional when I talk about this. But so I had built my house. This was in West Bedford, kind of where the BMO is in that area. And she was selling real estate for her father, who's also an entrepreneur out New Body's Gym, Dean Hartman. So he sold that New Body's Gym, I don't know how many years ago, but this woman was just kind of putting out her real estate sign at the end of the street. And it just so happened she dated a friend of mine when I was going to St. Mary's. So I kind of knew who she was. And believe it or not, even though I was partying and super immature, like I always had this thought, like I'm ready for kids, I'm ready for family. So like that was basically my pickup line at the time. Like I want to have kids. You know, my brother just probably had his first kid at the time.
Great pickup line.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I want to have
so I
kids.
was super like forward, and I wouldn't say she was my first swing, but like, you know, I was kind of at that stage where I just wanted to start the next chapter, and I knew that I wanted kids, and it just like our plan or our story was like so sped up. It was ridiculous. We met in, let's say July. By December, we were engaged and pregnant. By April, so less than a year, we were married. We got married 5 months pregnant. So within a year of meeting this woman, we had our first child and we were married.
That's awesome.
So very entrepreneurial. And because I'm gutsy, you know, Sue and I weren't even dating probably for a few weeks. And I went to Dean and I said, like, can I borrow some money basically to start in development or whatever? And you know, knowing what I know about Dean now, like it's crazy that I got a yes.
I was going to say,
it's crazy I got a yes out of him, but and I didn't know anything. That's the craziest thing about it. I mean, whether he was doing it because I was dating his daughter, but like the relationship was so fresh, like it would have been an eye roll scenario. Like I think about somebody coming to me that's been dating my daughter for a few weeks and like, hey, can I have $400,000 or whatever it may be? Somehow I got a yes at a Dean. Still to this day, don't know how that happened, but so this would be like another pivot point where so Graham and Graham Higgs and Schlender were on the street that I was living on. They owned 4 or 5 lots, and I think they kind of wanted to get out of like the volume game or something. For some reason, it worked for them to sell me 3 lots, and so with Dean helped me finance it. I bought 3 lots on my street, and I was basically like trying to do real estate agent on Sundays, showing my own open house. Which is actually, Sue and I were just talking about this last night. I was so nervous, and we're watching the show Love is Blind right now. And anyway, they go into a bathroom. They're like, this is where all the magic happens. And I just said to Sue, I'm like, honestly, when I was doing those open houses, I remember saying that, like walking through the bathroom, like this is where, like just so inappropriate and cheesy, right? So quickly realizing that like I wasn't going to sell these homes. I was, you know, Provident Developments was on the street, Roof Tight was on the street, Stonewater was on the street. So, you know, right from the beginning, I said like, you know, I want to be better as far as my aesthetic. Like that was the only differentiator I really had. Like, let's do the black windows, and that's when, you know, black windows were kind of just coming on the scene. So I put all this money into these were like probably $400,000 price points at the time back in 2014. So I overbuilt them, and basically, long story short, we end up building a second one for ourselves. So Sue and I think we had just had Nell, or we we're about to have Nell, move down the street. We sold these 4 homes. We ended up getting rid of them, and it was a break even kind of scenario. In the middle of that, Dean asked me to meet him one day, and I met him up on Fleet View, which is kind of off Starboard up the top of Lear Tech. And we met Hussein, the owner of Cresco. And, you know, Dean's like, you know, he has 6 lots here. And so Dean, you know, before I knew anything, Dean kind of had a little bit of development experience. After he sold New Buys, he was, you know, a developer of sorts. But I didn't go to him that second time. He kind of came to me. He's like, Caleb, here's another opportunity. And it was really much a rinse and repeat. Like we'd built these 6 homes. You know, they were nicer than the other homes on the street. We might have made $10,000 to $20,000 off each home. So out of those first 2 years, I think the first year I made $1,000 under Bowers Construction. That's not paying myself a salary. So that's literally like top line revenue. And then the second year, so now I'm using Dean's bookkeeper. I have my nice fancy truck. I'm selling this. I have no real accounting. Like I remember I'm in my home office with Excel spreadsheets for every project. Anyway, so I think it was year 2. We're basically like, and back then, like you don't know where you are month to month. It's like wait till year end, and then like Christmas is coming. You know what I mean? So I remember just like it was yesterday, and I got the sunroof open. Keep in mind, I have this like $70,000 truck that I can't afford. So sunroof is open. I'm going over to Dartmouth to meet with Dean and his bookkeeper, and so anyway, I'm just like, you know, just like you guys are sitting there with paperwork in front of you. His bookkeeper and Dean are sitting there. You kind of look like Dean almost a little bit too. Anyway, I was like, so how do we do? How do we do? And, you know, I think I have the world by the balls, excuse my French, at this time. And like, I have a construction company. I've signed. I just sold 6 homes. And anyway, so, you know, this bookkeeper just kind of very nonchalantly says, yeah, so you lost $70,000. So once again, I don't think I'm even paying myself a salary. So like you're losing $70,000. I haven't taken any money yet. I'm still probably living off this second home that I would have built for our family. And So luckily, in those early years, I had my personal, and even till like a few years ago, any wealth I had was from flipping my own personal homes. And I've always told people that, like, Bowers Construction was not a very profitable company, as glamorous as it looks from the outside. And this is probably the moment that's the biggest moment in my business career, is when, I would just, as soon as I heard that, and keep in mind, I really want to impress this man too, right? He's a successful entrepreneur. He's my father-in-law. So I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I feel super down about myself. And Dean didn't flinch. And he said something along the lines of like, okay, you have a decision to make. Like, I can get you a job with Lindsay Construction, and you can make, whatever his number, he said, $100,000 a year, and you could go home at 5:00 and be with your family, and that could be it. He said, or you can, make a go with this. And in that meeting, so I lost $70,000. And by the end of the meeting, Dean said he'll loan me $1 million at line of credit to buy land. So the story I'll always tell is that, like, that's a veteran business guy that understands that it's not all, and we were just talking about before we did this, got in here, is that it's not all roses in business. That was the last time I think we ever lost money in a year. So that was kind of like, call that chapter 1 of like the first 4 years of being in business. So we kind of just started putting along from there. As we talked about earlier, like Instagram was a big thing early on. So we're starting to get a name of like, okay, this is a higher end custom builder. Suzanne did a great job of making us look like somebody when we weren't. And, that was back when, some builders didn't even have an Instagram account. Now it's kind of a given that you have a nice looking Instagram account. But yeah, so you flash forward a few years, we're making like maybe 100,000 to a good year was 200,000. Somewhere along the way, like, so probably year 5 or 6, we did a consulting course with Simplicity Designs. You know those guys, Matt Sims and that crowd?
Yes.
And that would have been like kind of the second big catalyst for change in our business. So, the big thing is like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And this was the first time I had a proper accountant. I had project manager. So I wasn't running around like, a crazy person all day long. I started to be able to have the ability to step back and like work on the business rather than in the business, as they would put it. So we kind of got accounting underway. We took this consulting course with Simplicity, and that's when we really decided like we wanted our niche to be high-end custom homes, less volume, less clients a year. And that's, where we are today. We want to build 5 to 10 high-end custom homes. And then the last 2 years, I got more into the development side of things as well.
I love all the entrepreneur stories. I love your story. It's like, oh yeah, be an entrepreneur. Look at the it's glamorous. Look, you get a successful business, and people don't understand what it takes to get there. So I love you sharing that, and I really like the value comment.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those listeners that are out there, haven't seen Bowers Homes before on Instagram, you take a look at them. These aren't your typical homes, right? Like, these are beautiful, gorgeous properties that stand out for sure on a street, right? And we talked about that a bit earlier. They stand out. So, and we've heard you say before that it's all about value versus volume. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, early in my ego side of things, like, having as many signs around town, I looked at companies like Cresco and Raymar, and these guys are building 50 to 100 homes a year. And that's what I thought I wanted to be. And, as my business evolved and as I matured, I realized I wanted to be a certain type of builder, and that's more of a niche, high-end custom builder. Intimate relationships with every client. That's something that's part of my pitch when I meet a new client. Like, you're not just a number to me. You're somebody that we typically become friends after. The customer care side of it. So when I started Bowers, a big reason for that, I was like, listen, like, it's not rocket science to treat people really well. And when you're a volume builder, you could be the, best volume builder in the world, but you can't service 100 homes a year. So also the quality side of it. So, when you're building 100 homes a year, you're just trying to meet schedules all the time. So you're pulling trays off the street that you've never worked with before. You're trying to compete. It's really a race to the bottom as well on price. So we avoid all those things by saying, listen, like, we're a 1.5 to 4 million type builder. That obviously lowers our client pool. And we have 5 to 7 to 10 high-end custom homes a year, and that's manageable for us. We have enough margin to, build a back office where we have project managers, we have accounting, and just, it's transferable to really any business. How do you treat people right? How do you make sure your product's kind of on point and stands apart from others? And that's really where we've put our focus in the last few years.
Yeah, I love one of our core values is be a good person.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember our coach pushed back. It's like, be a good person. It's like, I don't know if it's a maritime thing, but it's like, treat people well, treat your employees well. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, no. And people, because it's a small community and both here and in New Brunswick, if you do treat people well, that's the best marketing you can have, obviously.
Yeah, and you'll stand out. Our second value is, and I thought you were going to say this one, but the other value we have is there's not a lot of traffic on the extra mile, and you stand out, right?
Yeah.
When you do that extra,
Absolutely,
and you put that.
Yeah.
You put
I've never
that
heard
value.
that expression before, but that's nice.
Yeah, it's one we use here.
So you and Suzanne, your wife, Sue or Suzanne, which...
So apparently nobody ever called her Sue until I did. I call her Sue. She likes to be called Suzanne, so we can call her Suzanne for this.
I'm going to call her Suzanne forever.
Yeah.
You kind of built this business together.
Yeah.
So she's the creative director.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of family involved in the business. You get your brother in Fredericton. You get your sister working with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not every couple works well together.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you guys work so well together, and how do you bounce that work life family, like raise your kids on the job site? Like what's the dynamic that works for you guys working together as a married couple?
Yeah. So I think the best part of us is we're so different in the sense where we don't really step on each other's toes. We're both not finance minded. That'd be more my thing. I'm not really. I know what looks nice to see, but I'm not somebody who can dream up something that's beautiful, right? And that would be Suzanne. So, we've had the ability to just have an amazing staff, and I think that's been a big part of, allowing us to concentrate on our marriage. A big value for me is my kids, and I've seen what business ownership does to families, and I very early on, my business is second to my family. And that was always the thing. I've made mistakes and I got that wrong early days because I thought that was my job as a father and husband, just to work and provide. And so the first couple of years, like I might've been there physically. I wasn't there emotionally or mentally. And my wife just in every way has, softened my edges and fixed things about me that were inconsistent and not valuable in a relationship. But I would say the best thing we have as far as just talking about business is, I work full time, and Suzanne, her main top priority is our daughters, right? We have a 10 and almost 8-year-old. So that's something I don't need to worry about as far as who's packing the lunches or, the kids have this thing at school. Like I'll get an email from school, and I shouldn't maybe say this, but I won't even read it because that's Sue's wheelhouse, right? And Sue wouldn't be super involved in if I get some kind of business meeting or whatever, that wouldn't be really Sue's wheelhouse either. Sue is the creative director. So anything creative, like our exteriors, what they look like. She does interior design for some of our houses. Really any house that we build should go through her. But as I talk to employees and being more involved in Fredericton now, my advice to them is you'll find your lane and stay in it. And I think Sue and I have done a good job at that where, she trusts me in the things that are kind of more Caleb things. And I couldn't do the rest of it without Suzanne. So, she likes that. Sometimes I think Sue, I need you to do this. But her priority is always going to be the kids. And I've had to learn to live with that and try to, get Suzanne when the time works for her to sneak in this quick logo or sneak in this quick post. And she runs our Instagram account, which is a big part of our success and how we generate leads and stuff. So yes, I guess the short answer is just staying in our lanes and family first.
Yeah, I like those complementary skill set, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that before we started recording too. It's like if you work with someone that, okay, I'm good at this, but this person's good at this, we work really well together because oftentimes people think, opposites are going to fight. But actually in business, a lot of times having someone with a completely different skill set is instrumental in growing your business. And I like your tagline, invites you home, because I think that it's more than just tagline, it's a philosophy, your personal life, your corporate life. I love the way you tie it all together. And I love your tagline, this is home. How'd you come up with that? What's the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, I mean, like most things, it's all Suzanne. But yeah, I think it kind of speaks for itself. When we build a home, it's not a house, it's not, a project, it's people's homes. And as I have to remind some of our team, like any business, you get kind of complacent and, this is another project and stuff. And we have a closing and, you almost have to always remind some some people on the team, like this is somebody's home and this is where they're going to move into with their family. So that's always top of mind for us, and definitely how we want to be seen as a builder. Like we're building your home.
Love it.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you mentioned a couple, there's a lot of builders here in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say sets Bowers apart from those other builders?
I'm someone who always wants to compliment other builders. I mean, there's very few people that know what we go through, other than people that do the exact same thing as us. So if a client is meeting with a potential client is meeting with me and they ask me that question, I would say something along the lines of, there's 5 to 10 builders in this town that could build this home for you. What I would suggest that you look at is who do you want to spend the next year with, and who do you think is going to take care of you in the long run? And we're easy to get along with. We're young. We still have a lot of passion in what we do. We're not. We still like our jobs. We like what we do. I think whatever we've done and whatever Suzanne's done to brand us, it really attracts great people. And, out of the 100 homes I've been, I could count on one hand clients that, I wouldn't want to run into on the street. We've been really successful and lucky to have the clients that we have. I think our brand just attracts people that are more down to earth maybe than some. Like I have some builder friends that seem to just get stuck with the worst type of clients all the time. And, we don't want that. I mean, if you can pick and choose, I wouldn't say I walk away from, profitable projects. But yeah, I think what separates us is just, our down to earth East Coast approach. And, like you said earlier, be good people. Like I stand by that. Like I'll never lie to a client, even if it's bad information, we'll be honest with you. And a big pitch of mine is trust. Like, you need to trust your home builder. It's kind of the starting point. Like if you can't trust your builder, then you've made the wrong choice. And most people come to us kind of already knowing what we're about, and they've been referred or, I would just, try to take the personal approach and say, I'm a family man. I'm honest. We're not trying to get rich off every project. We need to make a margin, which most people are comfortable with. But it's a personal and it's a thought out and thoughtful and kind of warm experience to build with us.
Well, I'm finding the right fit to work with you guys, right?
So it's not for everybody, probably.
Yeah, which is okay because not everything is for everybody, and it does show. Like when you look online, you guys have perfect Google reviews. You've got the referrals coming in, like that loyal clientele, which is huge for business owners out there, that online presence too, of having those Google reviews and stuff. Yeah. How do you get that done? I feel like Suzanne might be on top of this kind of thing. Google reviews are something that, you can't control necessarily. So I think that does speak wonders. Like I do hear like, well, we saw you have good Google reviews and, a couple of years ago, we had always had a 5-star review here. And then I think Fredericton had a 4.9 or something. But a couple of years ago, I pulled out in traffic and I thought I had lots of space. And anyway, long story short, this lady behind me went berserk. And I obviously had a Bowers sticker on my truck. So she wrote a nasty review. And we ended up being able, because that was nothing related to our company, we were able to get rid of it. But, you don't appreciate a 5-star review until all of a sudden you have a 4.8 and you're like, where's my 5-star? And so I think it's important. I mean, you need to be high up on Google. We work with a guy named John Cody on kind of the SEO side of things. And, these are things as you become, more established or more mature in your business life, you can focus on those things. When you're a guy in a truck just trying to, build a house, you don't have proper accounting, you don't have proper
trying to make $1,000
just trying to get rich off your $1,000 every year. Yeah.
So I love your Instagram, and you guys were early on the Instagram bandwagon. So tell me about that journey, because you start on Instagram and you start posting and you get like 7 views and you get 9 views and most people give up. What got you started on Instagram, and how important has that been to the growth of the business?
Yeah, so my Instagram was at the THA builder. That's how it started. And that's before meeting Sue. And the builder must have been taken or something. So I ended up with THA. So we changed to at Bowers Construction. I would say if anything that's been impactful that Suzanne has done, it's probably been the Instagram side of things. Obviously it's a place people look now for, when you're thinking about building a home and whatnot. But we were lucky to be kind of early adopters to the Instagram. Within a few years of doing it, it was just a regular thing that any builder needed a good Instagram. We've won awards for our marketing, and, I can't take any credit for any of that. Over the years, Instagram is, probably our main lead generator. Suzanne would be very picky on, like, I don't even know what you call it, but like what the grid looks like and how things work with each other. And like I said before, like I know when something looks good, but how we got to that point is not something I can take any credit for. But and it also comes with proper content too. And so you have somebody who's creative and has the ability to put that together, but then you have to build the projects that are worthy of putting on there.
Yeah.
And then you need somebody like Matt McMullen or Ryan Williams or one of these guys to put professional content on there. So all those things come together to having a nice Instagram account. We have, I think, over 26,000 followers now, which, they don't always generate leads, but at least what you're putting out there, people know, even if they're not ready to build a home, and it gains your presence, obviously, in a small place like Halifax. Like most people would know who we are at this point. And so, yeah, I think when you flip on Instagram, like it's something I'm certainly proud of. But like I said, I can't take any credit for it.
Yeah, I'll share a quick story. So we had a lot for sale on our street. We live on a lake, and it was sold during COVID. And all the women on the street have this group text, and all of a sudden my wife's like, "Ooh, Bowers Construction was down looking at the lot," and the people ended up not building, but the buzz around the street instantly was people knew who you were. They knew it was going to be a great home. People are excited that you were going to be potentially the builder because they knew it would make the street look even better.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just random people on our street because of the quality work you guys do. People knew about you by reputation. So I commend you on that. So let's get into the future, Christina.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned that you guys have expanded to New Brunswick. You're in Fredericton now. You're here. What does the future look like for Bowers Construction?
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that's pretty current as far as things are changing. As I mentioned, back during COVID, I got involved with my brothers up in Fredericton. Kind of a like-minded business. It was called Tomex. I keep messing up. I was corrected yesterday. Tomex Construction. But yeah, he had a partner. He was building homes, probably not the high-end homes that we were building in Halifax. But long story short, because of things that happened in COVID, we ended up being partners with my brother. We rebranded his company, Bowers Construction, New Brunswick. Right around that same time, you were talking about real estate earlier, but I was kind of 10 years or 8 years at the time into building homes, and I didn't own any real estate aside from my personal home. So that was right around the same time where I was, starting to put a developer hat on and saying, I need to build something for my future. I don't have a retirement fund or anything waiting for me. So we had bought a piece of land in Hammonds Plains that we're developing, and that's when this Nestwell brand kind of emerged, which is it's our development arm that focuses on senior housing. So when I got involved in New Brunswick, we kind of did a twofold. We did Bowers New Brunswick and Nestwell New Brunswick at the same time. There was also some other development companies, which is way too long of a story, but I'm the president of 8, I think, companies at this point. And before I went to Fredericton, I had 1 company. So the last 4 years have been, completely wild. And keep in mind, these aren't all operating companies. They're kind of like holdcos for different developments and stuff. But so we have Bowers Construction and Nestwell as they're kind of our two-headed beast. And they complement each other. Nestwell develops, Bowers is the builder for that. So that's really where I am today and where we're moving to the future is saying, how can we be sustainable? How can we, legacy or whatever you want to call it? And we're building kind of assets to build and hold. As far as the operating side of Bowers Construction, we want to kind of create more reoccurring client base. You can imagine, like, we don't get a lot of repeat customers because how often do people build, their forever home? When they say forever home, that's a one and done, right off the bat. So, so I guess the commercial side of it, which is kind of materialized from this Nestwell thing. So this Nestwell, my first project on Hammonds Plains that we're doing right now, has a 29-unit apartment building and then 24 of these townhomes. And then on the corner, we have an office building. So, there's Bowers banners all down Hammonds Plains Road. So people now see, the brand that's done well for us as, we care about what we do. The stuff we build is nice. Now people are saying in the commercial world, well, he's building apartment buildings now. He's building office buildings now. So right, like as of today, this is kind of a transition that's happening where we're always going to keep our custom homes, and that's going to be kind of the backbone and the foundation. But we're kind of transitioning into some commercial, and that's more of to create value as a business. So we're not waiting for 10 custom homes to follow the sky every year, that we're having some, repeatable client base and something that we can, grow around.
Okay, we're going to wrap up now with a little rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you questions, some quick hits here. First thing that comes to your mind, what's the one tool you can't live without on a job site?
Cell phone.
Cell phone. All
That
right.
does make sense. It's like you're
I like it.
there.
We're more on the manager side than the swinging hammer. So
I was expecting level or something, but it doesn't matter.
Somebody should have one of those.
Doesn't matter if it's crooked if I can call someone.
Somebody should have one of those.
Okay, favorite part of building a home, the design, the framing, or the final walkthrough?
Ooh, it'd be either the design or like the drone we get when it's done. So they're kind of equally as exciting, but nothing in the middle is super exciting to me anymore.
What's one thing every homeowner should know before starting a custom build?
Ooh, one thing they should know. I would say if there's a partnership involved, they should be on the same page with each other would be the most important thing.
If you could go back to 2014, what would you tell the then just laid off Caleb?
Keep doing what you're doing. It's going to all work out.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't stress.
I don't think I was worried enough probably back then. It was part of the problem.
Stop the partying nowish.
Yeah. Well, I could have got a 10-year start on it.
So you're a busy entrepreneur. When you do get a day off, what do you like to do? Water, cottage, barbecue? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I found faith actually a couple of years ago. So I'm super involved in my church. So I actually teach Sunday school on Sundays most of the time, every second week. But yeah, my family's super chill. Like we don't want to be a busy family. I have a brother with 4 kids that, 3 of them are in competitive hockey, and my sister-in-law, so Sue's sister has 3 kids in competitive sports. And so we're kind of like the opposite of that. Like most weekends we have no plans. My daughters are in Stagecoach, it's called, which is like a theater class they do Saturday afternoons, but we're a big chill family. Like we want to watch shows. Sue and I, one of the best times in our relationship is when we have a show that we're both into together, but no cottages. My in-laws have a nice lake house on Grand Lake, which we, might get to a couple times a year, but we're pretty low key, to be honest.
I love it. Dream project. If budget wasn't a concern, what kind of home would you love to build next?
I think, like, oddly, it's more about the client than it is the project. I think we've built some pretty cool projects to this point. Like, bigger isn't always better. I mean, we could build a $10 million home, but is that more exciting than the beautiful $4 million home? Like, I would say no. But, yeah, I mean, kind of to pivot from the custom homes, but like this Nestwell Lane I'm doing, which we got to name the street, and I drive down it every day, and there's an apartment building and 24 townhomes going on, and you're moving trades from one to the next. And I'm like, I'm going to own this thing. Like, I've never felt probably that much fulfillment as far as the construction side of it is like, this is for my kids. And the development game is for your kids. I mean, the way things are leveraged now, like there's no real cash coming out of these. It's really a future for your children. And so to know, like, if no matter what happens, my kids will have that someday. I mean, it gives me a lot of, makes me calm, and it makes me feel content and proud. There's some pride there for sure. But I think I've done some pretty exciting projects that we're proud of. And, this next chapter of more of the developments that we, own and lease, that's a pretty exciting chapter for us, I think.
I love it. Caleb, this was awesome. I think you're the epitome of integrity builds longevity in this business. And I love the value over volume, because so many entrepreneurs, I think, screw that up. Thanks for coming into the studio. We appreciate it.
Before you go, tell everybody your Instagram, because they are going to want to check it out. You want to go see this for all your
Construction, I think.
Okay, make sure we'll drop it. Yeah, we'll drop it in the links below, but you're going to want to check it out. It's gorgeous.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Thanks for watching that episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click that like button. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. And if you want to learn more about us, go to controlandcompound.com. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. The information contained in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and is separate and apart from the wealth coach services provided by Darren Mitchell and Associates, Inc. to its qualified clients. Control and Compound Financial expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, or any other damages arising out of any individual's use of this podcast or the information in it. The views expressed here are those of each participant and guest and not necessarily those of or endorsed by Control and Compound Financial, its affiliates, subsidiaries, and their respective directors, shareholders, officers, or employees. For full disclosure, visit controlandcompound.com/podcast-media.